a podcast to honor the gods.
This better come with a sacrifice.
Deus Ex Media.
Content and Capable acknowledges the Indigenous people on the land on which we record this podcast, the Turungurung people. We offer our respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Sovereignty was never ceded. Hello and welcome to this episode of Content and Capable. I know it's been a couple of weeks and needed a bit of a break. There's been stuff going on. But before I get into this week's episode, which is a really interesting episode for this kind of like end of year time, I wanted to quickly let you know that our dear fearless leader, Christina Khan, and friend of the podcast, guest, and co-host, and extraordinary person, Leela Hilton, have started a brand new podcast on Deus Ex Media called Burn Before Reading. They've already dropped their first 3 episodes. In fact, I think there might be a 4th by the time that this episode comes out. And you should definitely go and check it out. They explore all sorts of really cringy writing, back from our past, but also cringy writing that exists in the public as well. It's really fun. I will be on an episode fairly soon. I'm really excited, to be on and to chat about my writing experience because it's been a wild ride here, people. So definitely go check it out. I'm going to play, the trailer for it here and then we'll get right into the episode.
I'm Christina Khan.
And I'm Leela Hilton.
And this is Burn Before Reading,
the podcast about shiterature.
We're here to examine the terrible writing we did when we were younger.
Like that school project you were really proud of.
Or that poem you wrote when you got dumped.
Well, how about that apology letter you wrote to your mom when you got into that fight?
Or the song you recorded before you knew how to write music.
Okay, don't at me. And we're here to talk about other cringy literary topics along the way.
Like the Library of Alexandria.
And Dewey Decimal.
His name was Melville Dewey.
Oh, well, do we want to get the clips rolling?
I don't think I ever recovered from this in terms of being cool.
Why did I say any of this?
I do like the drama.
So there is actually quite a bit to unpack here.
Oh, all this drama was so addictive as a teenager.
There's no punctuation to it. I'll start with that.
I actually have no memory of this.
There were so many lies that I was telling it.
It's not terrible.
No one really taught me how to write a good short story.
That was a journey.
Listen to Burn Before Reading
every Wednesday, wherever pods are cast.
Welcome to Content and Capable, the podcast hosted by someone with an accent that was apparently voted most sexy by Americans, and the man who hosts the podcast, who has the accent, is still very confused as to why this particular accent, is sexy. I wouldn't agree, but that's okay. I'm your host. I'm Sam, a resident Australian, and joining me is Tyler Campbell. Hi, Tyler. How are you?
How you doing, man? Not too bad. I'm gonna have to say, I think the accent, it's a manly thing. I don't know how to describe it. Like the Australian accent, it's just got some balls behind it. Like, I don't know. That's just my vote
for
the
female gaze or something.
For the females, I don't even know. I don't know if I've ever really heard a female Australian talk.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be 100% real with you. Ever in my life, I don't think.
Yes. I think I definitely agree. It's one of those funny accents as well that like the American accent, there's a lot of broadness and there's a lot of narrowness. So depending on where you've come from in the country, and I've said this a couple of times, it really just kind of depends on what the accent sounds like. So I've got a weird one because I've also had voice training and bits and pieces when I was in music and did a whole bunch of stuff with that. So then I've got some very posh pronunciations and then just some very bogan pronunciations. So that broad accent coming from the equivalent of Florida.
Hey, all right. That's awesome.
And we're recording this, of all things, the day after Australia went to a referendum, and I can even confirm that the state I come from, Queensland, is very much the equivalent of Florida. Probably one of the worst results out of the whole entire country. Actually, yeah, I would wait. There's a whole state there that's looking worse. Sorry, just looked at the results again. My eyes hurt. Tyler, did you want to give a quick explanation of who you are and where you've come from?
My name is Tyler Campbell. I'm a father of two. I am the fearless leader of the Men of Misfortune podcast. I am currently in Iowa, Dubuque, Iowa, in the United States. Pretty much dead center of the United States. Absolutely boring as hell to be here, and I'm glad to be talking to you.
It's a fascinating thing, I think, the beef that like everyone has with the state of Iowa, including Iowans. It's either Iowa or Ohio. Like between the two, like Florida's our joke state. Iowa is like just full of brash Republicans that just don't give this place a very good name. And then you have Florida that's just meth and just wild stories the entire time. Like I'm pretty sure there was just a story not too long ago where there was a guy fighting alligators over food or something, and that's like an everyday thing for them. We should just take him to be trained here at Australia Zoo by the Irwins, and then he can do his passion for fighting alligators can be actually put to ecological significance. Send
him up against like just a household of honey badgers. That's what you should do. Just have him go in there and just fight a bunch of honey badgers. Go
up into the territory and fight some saltwater crocodiles that have been closing beaches up there. And I always forget that I live in such a safe spot of the country, which allows me to kind of be able to do things without a wild animal on the loose.
So I've heard that whenever you have like a honey badger that breaks into your house, you're just supposed to leave. Is that true?
I don't think, for some reason, I'm going to have to search this up. I don't think honey badgers are a big thing here.
Really?
Honey badger, Australia. I know that we've got like equivalents. We're talking about the honey badger, the man. Oh gosh, that's why. You can't search honey badger Australia into Google because it comes up with a former rugby player who's also now an underwear model, Nick Cummins, who was on like The Bachelor, I think.
Jesus Christ.
So, honey badger animal?
Question mark?
No. Where is it native to? Oh no, it's only native to like sub-Saharan Africa, the Middle East, and India.
Well, see, I thought it was with you guys. That blows my mind. But I'm also fucking.
Admittedly, we have our equivalents. We have possums, and they're not like
too, and
they're not the same as American possums. And they love playing around in like our roofs and stuff. So like, especially in more like tropical areas, you just hear the thump 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 of like possums running around because they're nocturnal in like the roofs of our houses.
That's fucking wild. See, I am a dumb, ignorant American. I swear to God, we don't know anything outside of our own fucking like front yards. It's wild.
There was one night I got a little bit intoxicated one night, and my mother dropped me home because I was at my parents' place. I like got out of the car and I could see a possum trying to get onto our roof, and I yelled at it for 5 minutes in the front yard. My mum turned around to me the next day and said, "You're an absolute embarrassment to the neighborhood." I was like, I didn't want the possum in our roof. Like, that's a fair thing. Otherwise, it probably would have been killed by the asbestos, but whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Fuck them.
So Men of Misfortune is a fascinating podcast. Do you want to kind of quickly explain where the idea for Men of Misfortune came from?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So, are you familiar with the last podcast on the left? It is a true crime podcast. I think I've heard of comedy it, yeah. So they're like a huge inspiration for me. I love true crime. and it was like I was sitting at work with one of my, and I was listening to one of their episodes, and out of nowhere he asked me what I was listening to. I was like, I'm listening to a podcast, and he's like, man, I wish I could always start a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, you want to start a podcast? I can make it happen if you want to do this. He's like, yeah, let's do it. So we got it started. We got a group of 4 guys. It started off with a group of 4 guys. You know, sometimes we wouldn't have everybody show up. Like, it would be 3 of the original members, and then we have a fill-in. Mm-hmm. Well, eventually all these fill-ins started, you know, being regulars on the show, and they're like, you know, we want to do this full time with you. Yeah. So eventually a show of 4 became a show of 5, eventually becoming a show of 8 people. Now, we didn't have 8 people on the show at once. We ended up breaking up the shows because the podcast thing is actually kind of expensive once you start buying like the subscriptions to be able to upload like RSS or Buzzsprout or whatever to get your content out there. You have to pay a subscription, and I didn't want to pay 3 different fucking subscriptions because Men of Misfortune was broken up into an anime show, a true crime show, and then a news story show that we also did interviews with. Mm-hmm. So we had like a broad range of, you know, people. We had actors, we had voice actors, people from video games. It was everything that we wanted to do when it came to the kind of content we wanted to make. And you know, it started with just 4 guys. It ended up being 8 guys. Unfortunately, the show is done now. It got to be too much. I'm starting a new show with one of the original members, and that'll be starting up in, I think, mid-December, beginning January, and it's going to be called the Midwestern Tap Podcast. And basically, we're going to, I'm not sure if we're going to be sticking with the news stories, playing with that right now, but definitely going to be drinking still, definitely be smoking. I mean, that was kind of like the big thing is we'd sit down and we'd roll up a joint and pass it around as we would tell our stories. And it's a comedy show, and it's honestly, it was the best 2 years of my life. And I wish I could start back and fix all the mistakes that I started with, because I don't know if you had like a how-to guide whenever you started doing podcasting, because let me tell you, we didn't, and we sucked in the beginning. It was such a train wreck when we first started. We had to delete like the first like 7 episodes that we put out because they were super offensive. It wasn't like we weren't saying like racisms or anything bad like that, but it, like the first episode we did of Men of Misfortune, it was me, Dan, and Mason. Dan was no longer in the group after like 10 episodes. There was scheduling issues with him, and we wanted to keep going, but we had to kick him out. But it was the 3 of us, and we recorded an episode at the news or the recording studio that we were at. We were at a radio station. Yeah. And that's how we got our start. And we recorded, and we were drinking the entire time, and we were having a great time, and we got done, and we went out onto basically the front porch area of the news or the radio station. Mm-hmm. And we polished off the rest of the beer. And in that time, the owner came out, and she was like, "Hey guys, I hate to do this to you, but you're going to have to go back in there and record." I was like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm fucked up. Like, I don't know if I can do that. She's like, "Well, you have to, because the episode, there was a editing or update with the software, so nothing saved."
No.
And we did it was such a good episode, and we were fucking trashed by the time we got back in there. Like we killed like a 30-pack between the 3 of us. And I went in there, and I talked for like, I think 15 minutes about porn and about having sex with grandmas. And I didn't know how bad it was until like I got the recording, and Mason's like, "Do you want to upload this? Because it wouldn't be like the best thing to do, but we also don't have anything else to upload, and we've already promised these people this stuff. So it's like this, or we wait another month or 2 or week or whatever to fucking record." So we ended up uploading it. And after I think we got like 25, 30 episodes in, I started slowly deleting the really fucking bad ones.
It's a hard thing, especially, and I've been reflecting on it recently, as well as I've hit a couple of milestones myself.
How long have you been doing your show?
So I've been here for 3 years now.
3 years?
So I'm on my third year, I should say, and we're just about to hit 100 episodes as of recording. So the 100 episode specials last week's episode.
Congratulations!
And, it's been amazing, and I'm scared to listen to those first few episodes. In fact, about this time last year, I was set an exercise by a friend of mine, and he said, go and listen to an episode from the very beginning, one of those first 5 episodes you recorded before you published, one, at the end of that first season, and then a couple from your second season, and just have a real good think about the quality progression you've gone on. And it was kind of I couldn't finish the task, and I apologize to the friend who sent me this task because I was supposed to have done it. I couldn't actually get myself to sit through a whole episode of one of those first ones. It wasn't in my eyes it was terrible. It probably was fine for some other people, but just listening back to myself.
Everybody says they're fine, and it's because the quality of content that you put out now.
Yeah.
And you see you struggling to figure out a good flow, how you do your openings, how you do your closings, how you present yourself on the show. It all drastically changes throughout the time you've been doing this. Now, 3 years, for 100 episodes, you've been doing this fucking straight, man. That is awesome.
Oh yeah. And it's kind of fascinating how it how it keeps going and it keeps changing as well. Even if I listen back to some of the early episodes from this year, they're not significantly different. It's the same format, it's the same idea, but they're different, and I'm moving in a direction. It's funny though, because when I started, I had a background in film and television, and I was working in radio, and I was oh yeah, I've got this down pat. I did not have it down pat. I think
no.
There is a learned skill to being behind a microphone and having an hour-long conversation with someone, and it is hard to get behind. And I think it makes it hard when you also have a guest who may or may not also have that skill or be engaged in that way as well. So there's definitely been times where I've had to kind of improvise to kind of get myself through to the end of an episode to put out content that is interesting and listenable as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because you the entire time you're talking, whenever I was recording with Mom, Men of Misfortune, when I'd be with Mom, I would say in the recording hey, we're not gonna do this part, and then the guys would look at me and I'm I know what you guys are thinking, but you guys aren't doing all the editing. You guys want to leave the stuff in, but this isn't it's almost not presentable to be this and to say these kinds of things. Yes, we're a bunch of guys and we're drinking and we're getting fucked up and we're saying stuff and we're reading funny things and we're telling really fucked up stories. But there's a fine line of the type of quality of content that you want attached to your name. Yeah. And in the beginning, you think when you get down, it's I want to sit in front of a microphone and I want to talk for an hour and I want to talk with interesting people from across the world. And you start doing that, and you slowly start to learn your pros, your cons, your weaknesses, your strengths, things that you need to work on, things that you excel at. I don't know if you were any good at editing whenever you first started.
Yeah,
that was something that I myself didn't have any kind of background in. Now, can I talk for an hour in front of a microphone with my friends or with random people? Yeah, absolutely. The editing part, that took time and effort, and I had editors on my team writing stories, coming up with things that I wanted to talk about. If we were going to do an episode about Ted Bundy, and we wrote 3 episodes on it, that's 17, 20 pages of a script right there. And that takes a shitload of time away. So it's all stuff that I've had to work on. Now, what was a strength and a weakness whenever you first started?
Oh, look, it's I think for me, it was getting the balance between, you're featuring a different creator each week, and I just talk too much. I just kind of inserted myself into it instead of just sitting there and letting someone talk for, the 5 minutes answering a question or recounting an anecdote instead of overriding them.
Yeah, that was something that I definitely had to work with whenever we were doing our interviews. Whenever we would interview like a band, that was honestly some of the harder things that we had to do was whenever like we did an interview with a band from Kansas. Their band's name is Parthenon. We didn't know them. We had their manager reach out to us and they were like, "Hey, we're fans of the show. We would love to be on the show. Here's our album. Are we quote unquote worthy to be on it?" And it's like, we listened to it. I showed it to the rest of the guys. They were like, "Yeah, let's have these guys on." And we had all 5 members on this show, and I wasn't expecting that. And it was like, all right, now I have to ask every single one of you guys a question or a group question, and is this person going to answer? Is that person going to answer? How do I? And we had a lot of dead space. That's always like a rough fucking thing, but I totally get it, man.
Oh yeah, and especially with a large group or a group of people, there's always someone who doesn't talk as much, and you feel really bad because it's like, I'm trying to feature you all. You're on a podcast, and I have a lot of creator friends who also struggle with it, where they go, I've invited this person on and they didn't really talk much, and I kind of feel bad because obviously they're a guest and we want to feature them more, but they just didn't manage to kind of sit in that vibe and stuff. And I think that's what I like about a solo format, as much as it's terrible because you don't have anyone else to rely on. It just meant that like I can kind of like go, I'm going to sit here and be I can kind of vibe myself and change the vibes for whatever guests I've got going on.
Have you always been a solo person?
Yeah, I never really had like a huge amount of people I knew in person that I felt comfortable would be keen to like commit to this. And I don't know, I was a little bit intense when I started this because it was the middle of COVID, and when I commit to something, I go hard. Like I just
100%, 100%, dude. That's the only way to fucking do it. It's the only way you're gonna know if you have what it takes. If you don't throw yourself at it, then what's the point of doing it if you're not? Oh yeah,
exactly.
100?
And like I would just like, some people would just flake out on me too often, and I just started uni of all things. So I had started a degree, had 4 weeks of a degree, and then we went into lockdown. So,
oh, shit.
That was a delightful experience. And so we kind of, when I went and pitched this, I was asked, do you have anyone else in mind that you want to be co-hosts with? And, we kind of the people I worked with to launch the podcast, they were like, we kind of recommend that someone joins you on it. And I was like, I think I'll try to go it alone. And it was a mistake. I shouldn't have gone alone to start with, but I think I've gotten into a really good rhythm now solo. I think in future there will always be someone I record with. I just don't think it's sustainable for anyone to start a podcast solo. Maybe continue a podcast solo, yeah, but starting is just a lot of work.
I 100% agree. I like this type of platform. Since Mom has disbanded, I've done probably like 7 solo chats just with other shows, just because they're people that I'm really interested in talking to. Like I'm always down to do this. I'm always 100% down to sit down and talk to somebody and get to know them and create a kind of friendship and kinship behind a passion that we both share. Like that is so monumental whenever you can get a group of people together that share the same kind of passion, that have the same kind of drive, that just want to put out content and just meet people. And doing this kind of stuff, it's so great. And I love this one-on-one connection. I love doing this kind of stuff. So, having that start of, being like, I'm not sure if I can do this, but I'm going to give it my all, and I'm going to do it. And you're past 100 episodes. You're past 100 episodes. Our highest month of downloading, and the only time that I ever felt like there was a huge, besides like the first time we ever got a sponsor or some bullshit like that, or a fan letter or whatever, like we got a couple fan letters, we got a couple things in the mail. We had like 12,000 downloads within 1 week, and it was the most exhilarating thing because it felt like I had actually achieved something with the show, and it was, I don't know how to describe it, but it was It was something. It was something. It was
Yeah.
like a labor of love finally coming to fruition.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things where, you know, regardless of what the actual numbers may look like, it's that audience interaction, I find, that kind of makes it worth it in the end. It's, you know, people come saying to me, oh, I really enjoyed that conversation. That was really insightful. Or, like, I had a really good giggle because, you know, Lauren and James, you know, just made jokes about
love
crocodiles.
Those two.
Oh, they're
fucking
great.
love those two, man.
They're amazing. And you know, and then there's common themes and jokes and bits and pieces. And I've got like plenty of returning guests who just kind of come back and go, you know, I've got something else to talk about. You know, you want to go on. And I think, you know, having people outside of my initial network of podcasts that I interact with turn around and go, hey, I would love to, you know, come back on. Or when I go to, you know, reach out again and go, hey, you know, if you want to come back on at any time, or if you want me on your end, you know, to come guest, you know, the offer's always there. And then, you know, they kind of turn around and go, yeah, you know, totally keen to do it. I go, and that's what makes it worth it. You know, I'm building a network of people who are like-minded and friendly and are supportive of the work that we all do. And I suppose you feel the same as well, especially interacting with so many, you know, different, so many different people all at once.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was some of the best times of doing the show was whenever either, because it got to the point at the end of Mom, it got to the point where I was doing nothing but solo gigs, like nothing but interviews like this or just sit down chats or collaborations. It was this. And, you know, it got really frustrating at the very end because it was like, oh, I've got family this week. I can't do it this day. I can't do it this day. I can do it this day. Oh, but you can't. So what are we going to do this day? Okay. You know, and we went like, I think like a month or two without recording. And we had like 5 or 6 episodes backed up. And when I have a family, so like whenever I would record, I work a full-time job. So I would have Friday off, Saturday off. And Friday would be my rest day. Saturday would be my podcasting day. And Sunday, part of Sunday would be my family day. And that was never enough for my family. And I always felt like I was missing out. But like, there was a time where I was like, all right, I need to take a break. I've been doing this like every single fucking day for 2 years, either when it came to promotion, because I promoted the fuck out of us all the time, or recording or editing or doing anything. Like that was what I did for 2 years straight. And I look back at my group and they were busy doing their lives. And I was just like, all right, I think this needs to just stop. I think this has gotten to a point where, and I honestly envy you. Because I honestly did not have the, I don't want to say, what is it? The knowledge on run a podcast until now, until a year and a half into it, I was like, this is how you fucking do it. Oh, okay. This is how you edit. This is how you promote. This is how you do all this stuff. And, yeah, I honestly envy the solo track mind. I think that's fucking wild that you do that. I love this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I've definitely had my fair share of thoughts of going, oh, you know, what if I fold this up and try something different, or try, you know, a different podcast. Or there was one point a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's maybe once every 6 weeks I think about, you know, what if I just don't do this anymore?
Just
and it was
stop.
about and it's a what if, but it's not a like it's not like I'm not feeling it. It's like, oh, you know, what would happen if, you know, I stopped right now? And it's usually I have like these peaks and troughs. For 6 weeks, I'm riding high. I've got plenty of guests. You know, I've got recordings out the wazoo. I record, you know, 5 times in one weekend, and I've got, you know, heaps of stuff ready to go and ready to edit. And then, you know, 3 weeks later, as I'm starting to get all of this backlog, you know, running out, I go, oh, I need more guests. And you have a, you know, think of like, oh, this is just incredibly hard. You know, there's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of people who are just don't check their messages.
Don't even fucking respond, dude. That's the worst.
And it's like, 9 out of 10 times, I've shot too high, or, there's someone who never checks their Instagram messages because they've copped abuse in the past or something. And I'm very aware of that fact. And, I have the same in work. I work as a journalist, and, half the time you're not getting an actual response from someone. And the only people you're getting responses from are the people you've developed and cultivated relationships with that, could fall apart in, half a second flat if you're not careful. And I think, every 6 weeks I think about it and I go, no, now is not the time to think about it, and I move forward. But also, it's always a fascinating conversation to sit there and go, well, if I stopped, I wouldn't want to stop podcasting. I just probably would stop this podcast and then have think about, what would my next project look like? And I always think about it and go, actually, I don't have a solid idea for my next project, and I actually really love what I'm doing. So I may as well just keep going with what I've got. And it's, I don't know, it's always a fascinating thought experiment, I find, of just going, we've got, especially when you are doing it yourself, no one else is relying on you for, content.
You don't have other schedules to adhere to. You don't have other voices that tell you how to, or what type of content, or who you want on the show, or just anything. I like I said, man, I envy you. And as a person that basically dropped their passion project, don't ever drop your passion project.
Yeah.
Keep like a husk of a human being until your next one starts.
And I think that's always the hard part as well. It's like, I've moved multiple times. Like I think I've moved 3 times since starting this podcast. I've gone from, job to job, actually started fully embracing my career in bits and pieces. And so there's been a lot of personal change. And I think that is partially reflected in the change in what the podcast looks and sounds like. I now work for a newspaper, so my only audio content that I regularly edit after working in radio for 3 years is this. And so I get to pour that effort that I would probably pour into a radio content into this, which I think has definitely changed what this looks and sounds like as well.
Absolutely. Whenever you get that kind of experience and that kind of on the job, you're constantly writing things and growing your mind and finding different kind of questions to the answers that you're seeking for. You're constantly learning, and as a person, you're developing and growing constantly. So who you were 3 years ago isn't the person you are now, and you see the potential of what you're doing and how it makes you feel. In the beginning, you're like, it would be fun, and it's like, I need this to be exactly what I want it to be, because this is my passion. This is something that I have to do every day.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. And it's a fascinating, I think podcasting is this really nebulous thing. The market is so incredibly saturated that you can just lose
it's
confidence.
Incredible, dude. It's incredibly saturated, man. And you have to think about it. I fucking hate, I love Bert Kirshner, and I love fucking Tom Segura. I love Bobby Lee, and I love Andrew, whatever his fucking redheaded dick face is, and fucking the last podcast on the left, and just all of these fucking famous people starting podcasts. And it's God damn it. How are we supposed to get that upper leg whenever all you do is fucking show your face and you already have 1 million subscribers? How is it fucking fair? What do we have to do in order to break through, in order to have a fucking audience and make what we do worth it? It is so fucking hard. And in the beginning, not in the beginning, midway, whenever we added Dylan, when Dan quit, or we let Dan go, when we did that, we added somebody named Dylan, and he became one of the side editors because we had Mason. I brought this up on an episode. I can't even remember what episode it was. I was like, I fucking hate famous people starting their podcasts, like Conan O'Brien and shit like that. It's dude, why the fuck do you need a podcast? You had a talk show for fucking 20 plus years. Get fucked. Retire already. Do something else. Markiplier. Okay, not one of my favorite YouTubers, but a very famous YouTuber, and he's got a million or plus people following him. All he has to do in one clip is go, "Hey, have you seen Distractable Podcast? Here's the link right there," and you already have 15,000 people checking out that one episode that you posted. And that fucking sucks because yeah, you put in the work before, but like here we are struggling, trying to get through this and trying to get that listener base and trying to get those followers and trying to get that subscription. And it's not there because they're somewhere fucking else following the same people that they've been following for the last 10 fucking years.
Yeah. It's so incredibly, like, and it's so easy to then, like, turn this frustration into bitterness. And I think that's, like, I think that's where, like, I often sit kind of right on the edge of this because it's fascinating here in Australia. A lot of content creators, especially on TikTok as it blew up over COVID, got snapped up by these management agencies. So all of a sudden, anyone who with an ounce of fame has a manager and a management agency, and you can't just go directly through them anymore. You've got to go through their management, and then all of a sudden they're coming out with podcasts or and bits and pieces. And there are some people who absolutely do, like, I think it's right for them to have a podcast. Crush it. Tom Segura, Burt Kreischer, two bears in a cave. Yeah, it's funny fucking shit. Funny podcast. And know what people are looking for in audio content. I think of, for any Australian here who knows or understands what I'm talking about, Abby Chatfield, who hosted a radio show for a long time, and then, also now has a podcast and, basically does not the same thing, but similar things on the podcast as she did on the radio show. And so that podcast then, is actually engaging and interesting. And it's where she creates long form content because she is literally just an influencer. She's basically on Instagram and then whatever reality TV show she signs herself up for. That obviously is a really important aspect to her brand, but I don't need, anyone with any ounce of fame to be putting out a podcast where they just talk about benign stuff that, they think is interesting.
All that it is, though, that's all it is most of the time. It's just bullshit coming out of a famous person's mouth.
And often, like, you can see where the producers have kind of, like, they're trying to, like, have their say and trying to make it engaging, following a lot of the rules that we've learnt the hard way over the last, 100 episodes, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, where we've sat down and gone, what is going to make content engaging for our listenership? And, you can see a producer who understands that, who knows what they're talking about, who are trying to put that together. And the influencer doesn't care. Like, they're just there to, to chat shit. And I think part of the blame I lay is actually on Spotify itself, where they started creating Spotify exclusive podcasts. And so all of a sudden it was this great brand thing for them where they would just grab, any influencer who was keen and put them on a podcast only on Spotify to kind of promote their platform, but then also meant that, you've got all of these influencers who are now flooding the market further for podcasts.
Yeah, it's a fucking shame. It is a genuine shame, and half of those podcasts either survive or they don't. And when they do, it's almost an embarrassment. To me, it feels like an embarrassment because it's like, hey, have you checked out Men of Misfortune?
Yeah.
No, I haven't checked out Misfortune, but I'll tell you a podcast that I really, really like. I Need a Friend with Conan O'Brien. It's like, okay, that's cool. So, like, you listen to famous people talk to famous people that have not even remotely the same kind of everyday problems that you do. Like, that's what you want to listen to for a straight fucking hour. What are you learning? What are you learning by anything of this situation?
Yeah, exactly. And it's the keep indie, stay indie kind of situation as well. Like, there are the people who, create indie podcasts, we don't seem to get the same support as, say, indie bookstores or, indie movies or, things like that. And it's like, these people are, and I would say this about a lot of people. These people are inherently relatable. Anyone who creates a podcast by themselves, they're an inherently relatable person. They're often working class. They're often in the middle of the socioeconomic spectrum, often maybe slightly lower, and are trying to use it, as a creative outlet for a job that they really, that they're really only into to make money from, and then they need a creative outlet. So this a podcast becomes that, and it's a fascinating cultural phenomenon, I find, of podcasting became big 7 or 8 years ago, and now we're watching the commercialization of it and the corporatization of an aspect of the industry that was inherently relatable. The reason why people love podcasts is because they felt like they were sitting in a room having a conversation with people that they related to inherently. And there are still podcasts out there that do it, that are from big companies. A particular couple of Australian examples. The ABC here in Australia does amazing podcast work. Their podcasts are really interesting. They're always a little bit more on the factual side. And then I look at the ladies at Mamma Mia and Shameless, who create podcasts for women that inherently talk about the women's experience and talk about important aspects of that. And I'm like, there is a market for big corporations or big companies to put out relatable programming. But those three examples I've just listed, they spent years developing their craft in a way that is inherently relatable. And they don't take on new projects willy-nilly. They are big, massive, thought-filled programs that require entire staffs of people to do and employ a whole bunch of people. Whereas, I would be argued you could do the same for less with, an indie podcaster who's, running a small operation themselves.
It is a struggle, like, for us. Like, I remember when we were doing Mom, and we got Dylan, and then almost after we got Dylan, we ended up getting a full-time writer for the true crime show. And we only used them whenever we needed like a long story. If we were going to do like a huge serial killer or like Unit 731, we did an episode on that. Like, it got too much for me to write for anime. And now I mention everything. That was our anime show. And it got too much for me to write for Morning Cup of Chaos, which was our true crime show. And having those two, I mean, the true crime show it would always be more than fucking like 15 pages. And I'd spend like an entire like 3 weeks writing this paper, researching it. And it was always subpar because it wasn't like I could give it my all. And then anime was just like, oh, this person wrote this is what they did. And this is the sequence of events that got to where we're at now with this anime. And that was pleasurable for me. But like when we got Jack as a writer, it changed the fucking game for us. But eventually it was like, all right, so I'm doing all this work for free. Like when do I get paid? And it's like, I'm not even getting paid. Like, I'm trying. I'm trying to get paid. I'm fucking trying right now.
And that's the other hard part, especially when, you spent, for example, for myself, I don't have a Patreon. I don't have any of that, like, to access theoretically, because I'm a part of a network, what would be considered Patreon-only content. You've got to go through the Patreons of other podcasts within the network, and you then get access to. There's nothing more exclusive other than a Discord channel and a server. But like at the same time, like I find it very hard to justify to myself that I'm at the point where I could realistically monetize what I'm doing as well, and that's like I think that's a really hard question to ask people, is like, at what point do you monetize? I've seen the argument of you should be monetizing from day one. I've seen people going, you need to see a certain amount of people listening to the podcast every week. And it's like, there is actually no one answer as well, because then it's a moral thing of like, do I feel comfortable asking my listenership for money? Is that going to, am I willing to accept the consequences of like, if I don't deliver on, the promises I've made, and people making a financial commitment on those promises. And it's such a hard balance to get.
So in the beginning, whenever Mom was doing their thing, whenever we were like really up and going and we had a great following, we had a shitload of sponsors and support and everything. Mom's biggest thing was, we were producing weekly, but we were not working on the Patreon. When I got to see Last Podcast on the Left, I stood up and I bought tickets to go to their Q&A, and that was the one fucking question that I asked them. Like the one real question. Like I made a couple jokes at like two of the co-hosts that I really wanted to, but the one person that I really wanted to talk to, I asked, and I said, Marcus, what should I do with my podcast? I'm about to start. You guys inspired me. What do I do? How do I get to the level that you're at? Like what? I'm not asking for your fame. I'm just asking to turn this passion project into a full-time project. Mm-hmm. And he told me to wait a year. He said, wait a fucking year, because it doesn't make sense to have a Patreon for subscribers and followers that you don't have. But at the beginning, that was when we started having all of our reliable followers that ended with us at the very end. Like, I honestly wish we would have, but I fully agree with you. Like, where does that line start? I only charged $1 for my extra content.
Yeah.
There were like, we had 4 tiers. We had a $1, a $5, a $15, and a $50 episode. And the $50 episode, I put on there just for shits and giggles. For shits and giggles. And I was like, you can be a part of the show. You can choose what we research. You're going to get a basket full of our merch. You can do all this other stuff. And that comes with it. That was our $50 tier. And that was, we had one person sub to that for a month. And when they got the merch, they fucking unsubscribed, and it was so fucking crushing. We sent it out because like we also just got sponsored. Do you know what Jones Sodas is?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so we got sponsored by Jones Soda. I've got a shirt upstairs that is Jones Sodas, and on the back it says sponsored by, or we sponsor Men of Misfortune. Mm-hmm. And I've got a shirt, and we got a fucking 6-pack. We got like a shitload of sodas with our fucking logo and stuff on it, and it was great. And we sent that out, and we sent some shirts and like a bunch of other stuff, and we sent that out. And she fucking unsubscribed like almost immediately. I was so sad. But it is really hard to ask your fan base to like help support your passion. It's difficult. It's really fucking difficult.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think it's one of those beautiful aspects of, just content creation in general. I watch, and it's not just podcasts, it's all around it, people seeing success and then going, well, then I've got to monetize on this success, or
I got to jump on it. I got to go. I got to go right now.
Because the internet feels so temporary as well. Like, it just all the time feels completely temporary. And, things come and go. Like, you finish, Mum, and it's like, at the same time, it's like, well, that's over. Like, that yes, it was 3 years or however many years exactly it was. But, at that same time, like, that's such an incredibly short part of someone's lives, but also so big as well. So it's like, where in the relativity scale do we kind of exist when we like read and are a part of these programs?
I could not agree more with you, man.
Yeah, it's a interesting aspect, and I think it's a really important part of how we view content creation from the rearview mirror, or how we view content creation from someone who's theoretically, conceivably in the back seat as well. Like, it's just we've just got to accept, there are so many questions we can't answer. None of us are experts ever.
I fucking wish we were, though. I fucking wish we were.
It really does suck, because you just want to know what's going on. You want to know, you want to give someone an answer when someone asks a question. And I've had friends who've wanted to start podcasts who've asked me, what should I do? How should I operate this? And, it all ends up going back to, it's up to you. Like, I just can't give you a solid answer. It depends on, how you work and where you're at. And you've got to be incredibly patient. It's,
So the biggest downfall of Men of Misfortune was the payment. We had the following, we had the subscriptions, we had all the shit that was a part of it. But everybody thought 2 years in, we'd be making just a shitload of fucking money, and that's not how it works. And that is like the hard tell of realism that a lot of people don't understand is like this takes fucking 5+ fucking years to see any kind of pullback. I mean, if you watch like Bobby, the independent podcaster, she's a female. She's been doing like interviews with fucking Drake and just fucking all over the goddamn place with interviews and people. She is in so much fucking debt, and she talks about it every fucking episode because it costs her an arm and a leg just to be able to pull out these credit cards, get these fucking tickets, fly to these people, do these shows, and then fucking come home and then do it again next week. Like she's going out and she's doing this, and it's like I fucking commend her, but like Jesus Christ, I like it. That's what it takes in order to make it in this fucking game. You have to like fucking almost destroy yourself.
And it is such a money consuming, like we always talk about, how much TV and movies cost, but like podcasting, like any other creative aspect,
how much was your microphone right now?
125, which I thought was a deal as well. Like I think I got it on sale. And then I'm lucky I go through Spotify, so I don't actually pay for pushing my podcast out. But then I will have to pay for Zoom as of next year. I'm just stealing my brother's university account, hence the wrong name on the thing. But like, it's little costs, and I'm really lucky. I have my hand around a lot of free programs and alternative programs. But, ideally I would love to use Adobe Audition, but that is $14 a month that I just cannot afford. And I would love to upgrade my microphone, but I don't think I can until, I've used this microphone for the last 2.5.
Don't. Honestly, you put out great quality. I can fucking hear you clear as fucking day. Don't change whatever you're doing. I bought this stupid fucking microphone for like $300. Have you seen my studio on Instagram? Have you seen everything? Yeah. Okay, so I've got a TV, I've got a fucking $600 neon sign that says Men of Misfortune. I've got couches, I've got bookshelves, I've got books on my shelf, I've got all kinds of shit on there. I've got a brand new computer, I've got a fucking soundboard, I've got Shure SM7Bs for every fucking person on my show, like mic arms, and what else? The time and effort it takes for me to put into this stuff, the editing, the lights for the studio, the fucking rent we were paying. I mean, it is fucking expensive to do this shit, dude.
To make it look good and make it sound good. It's just like, and you look at, you look at some podcasts, think of, there's a couple of teacher podcasts. I know there's plenty of beef between them all, so I'm not going to mention names, but, they're sitting in fully fledged studios with, a Shure mic, for every single person, there's 4 or 5 people sitting in a room, and they've probably got an editor and a mixer and a sound engineer and, are then paying to promote it online and push it out to socials and, recording video content. Video content means that your workload is twice, if not 3 times as much as your audio workload. And it's one of those things where I just sit there and I just can't think about that as a one-person show.
So I've got a YouTube channel that's coming up. We aren't exactly the guy that came down from Canada. He had a great time. He stayed with us for a weekend. His name is Thomas. The show is Vissa Radio. If you guys get on YouTube, type in Vissa Radio. He does a bunch of interviews with metal bands that you've probably never heard of that are all across the world. Like he interviewed a band a couple weeks ago from Norway, and it's just like, it's amazing. When he came down here, we sat down and talked, and I was like, I just want to let you know, like, Men of Misfortune is coming to an end, so like this might be the last episode we publish. And he was like, we should do something together, and I was 100% for that. But like, just the idea of going back into video editing and audio editing and how much time that fucking takes. It like if you have an hour long episode, you have to like cut out 3 hours of your day right fucking there, right at the bat. Like, I'm gonna edit this, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna listen, and all those awkward spaces that you have that we haven't had so far, that's gonna fucking go. That's fucking gonna go. That's gone. All the goof ups, the goof 'em ups, the reading errors, any kind of stupid shit that you don't want in the show, that's got to go. And you have to listen to what you're saying the entire time. I fucking hate editing, but I love it all at the same time.
Yeah. It's incredibly satisfying. Yeah. And I want to emphasize as we draw to kind of like a close on this conversation. I'm sure, you and I will probably have a similar conversation.
Oh, I can't wait for the next time we sit down. Yeah. I cannot wait till we sit down again, dude.
Because
this was like fantastic.
Regardless of what we've kind of complained about for the last half an hour, this job, like this, I will say it is the job, is amazing.
My passion. It's my passion.
The frustrations we have doesn't mean we're any less passionate about it. At every step of the way, we are excited for what we do. New projects, new ideas, new ways to innovate and change up what we're doing in a way that is interesting. And no one should ever feel guilty for listening to content where someone may be complaining. I think everyone has frustrations. It's like a job, but in the end there's a reason why creative people keep doing creative things, and that's because they love what they do. And I'm looking forward to seeing especially your next few projects as well, Tyler, but what the future will look like as indie creators kind of, I think, especially beyond the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes, kind of start standing up for themselves and knowing what they're worth.
Exactly, and then like that's the biggest part. And like, before my last question for you, I know this is your show, but like my last question for you is: Are you happy? Are you happy with the progression you've made throughout your show?
Oh, that is the 100%
that is the biggest thing, man. If you can look back and go, okay, a year from now, or a year ago, or 2 years ago, this is where I was at. This is where I'm at now. Are you happy? And that is like my biggest question that I love to ask people is if they're happy during this process. Because honestly, Men of Misfortune was the best time of my life. It was something that I inspired. That podcast dream, and that one thing that really like got me out of bed in the morning. Like, yeah, I know that's so silly. I know that's so silly to fucking say. I know that's so fucking silly. As like two indie podcasters, I know that's fucking silly to say, but like it literally was like my everything.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's your babies, and like in creative spaces, you are going to do everything for your baby, no matter how ugly the process might look.
Absolutely, especially in the fucking beginning. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. As we kind of draw to a close, Tyler, did you want to let people know where listeners can find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can go ahead and find me at Men of Misfortune on Instagram. Men of Misfortune podcast. It's going to be a picture of me in my studio, kind of the head down, the red light behind it. We're going to be changing that whenever the Midwest Tap podcast starts, or I might change it to whatever Thomas and I are doing. We're not 100% sure on what I'm going to do with my page, but go ahead and give me a follow, shoot me a message. I'd love to talk. If you are another show that love this episode and want to shoot out, honestly, Sam has been great. You are fantastic, man. I cannot wait to come back on this show. I know I complained. You just met me at a very weird time in my life. Like, honestly,
I'm kind of glad, to be honest. It's a good transition.
Yeah, because like I'm mad that the show. I'm not mad that the show's over. I understand that the show's over. I'm ready for something new, because doing these solo things with these people, like with you and with sort of kind of funny and Thomas and doing stuff with Thomas and the Creepy Crap podcast, and just like all these shows that I'm able to meet and talk to, like getting to meet everybody has been really fantastic. And it's honestly kept me going with my passion project. Meeting people like you, Sam, has been honestly now all just to meet you, just to come fucking hang out. Like,
Whatever. I suppose, has there been anything that you've been reading or listening or interacting with that you wanted to plug?
If you have in mind, I just finished all of Dune, and let me tell you what, stop after book 3. Children of Dune, fantastic book. God Emperor Dune is god awful, and then it just gets worse after that. I just also finished Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is nothing like the fucking movie. Dude, it made me so fucking sad, and all the 18-bit language that they were fucking speaking, it was hard as fuck to get through. I'm also a huge Baldur's Gate 3 fan. I have been fucking to my TV. Like, I'm so glad I don't have a podcast right now, because like it is giving full time and like rest and all this shit, but it's also given me plenty of time to become addicted to Baldur's Gate 3. I might stop like living life and start just like D&Ding everything. I might just carry a 20-sided dice and just fucking roll every time I need to do something.
Yeah, no, definitely feel like I've got a lot of friends who are quite addicted at the moment, which has been fascinating to interact with them. It's just like every second conversation, it's Baldur's Gate 3. Have you know? Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not a video game person, so I'm the kind of person who goes, oh yeah, I'll listen to you rant about it for like 2 hours, but like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just gonna smile and nod.
I don't blame you, dude. If you find yourself in front of like a like key and you should play Baldur's Gate, you need to like leave as fast as humanly possible, because that will become your fucking life.
Yeah.
Like, anytime I have a chat with the Men of Misfortune, because we still have a group that I'm visible, and I'm like, so I'm like doing this right now, and they're like, oh yeah. And that's like all talk about Baldur's Gate, and it's like it's alive, but at the time it's like, fuck, man, we have nothing else to do than this fucking video game because we're so obsessed.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you can find me at sam.the.journalist on Instagram and on TikTok. You can find the podcast Content, the letter N, Capable, on Instagram as well. I'm going to plug in line with our indie theme, I'm going to plug a indie book audible replacement called Libro FM, libro.fm. It's like, it's like your Audible, except you can support like a local bookstore. They've just expanded worldwide. So if you're in Australia, they have just expanded through to Australia. So I've been able to link my local bookstore here to my account. So now that every time I buy a book, I buy it from there. It's lovely. It's really amazing. Anyway, thank you so much, Tyler, for coming on the podcast. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, and we definitely have to have you back on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Whenever I'm not in this weird transitional period, man. Sam, you have been fantastic. You have been a fantastic host. I cannot wait to come back, dude. And I hope you have an awesome day. I know it's nighttime for me. I don't like the fact that you were able to link this up. I've tried one time with an Australian, and it was supposed to link up that it did. And the fact you shit together and be read over this episode, I cannot thank you enough, man. You are fucking fantastic.
No, yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to the new projects. Content and Capable was recorded, edited, and produced by Samuel O'Brien. You can follow the podcast at Content, the letter N, Capable on Instagram, and you can find it on Facebook. You can also send an email through to contentandcapablepod@gmail.com with any of your thoughts, queries, or concerns. The best way to support the podcast is to leave a review on your preferred podcatcher so more people can hear the podcast. The art was done by Opia, and the music was written, edited, and produced by Jason Hilton. Content and Capable is proud to be a part of the Deus Ex Media Network, where you can find a podcast for any of your nerdy interests.
This season on Of the Eldest Gods,
we make our way through the maze of
Labyrinth,
Yeah, Labyrinth, whatever. And we tell you all about the next book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series.
And explain the myth context as we go along.
So, the whole stuck in a maze thing is just a gimmick for this book, right?
Yeah, sure, Ray.
Hey, Charlie! Where the fuck are we?
Only you can save us from the labyrinth by listening to our podcast.
Help!
Thank you for listening to Content and Capable. Don't forget to rate and review, and we'll see you next week for another episode.
Deus Ex Media.